All right.
Look, here's my favorite thing right now. I feel like there's like a lot of friendship in this room, and I'm looking at Maria, I'm looking at Oprah, and I'm just thinking about like, Maria, how would you describe your friendship with Oprah?
Oh my God, long.
Yeah.
Long, right?
Long. Yeah, long.
Yeah,
deep.
This actually.
What?
But one of the longest.
Yeah,
One of the longest.
Long. 40 years.
Wow.
I would describe it as deep, simple, low maintenance, trustful, loyal, constant, consistent, honest, tried and true.
Wow.
Can we keep going?
I love that. Oprah, how about you? How do you describe your friendship?
I'd say that there is a spiritual connection. I'd say the reason I first met her in the bathroom at WJZ-TV early in the morning. I was coming in to do the morning cut-ins, and she was doing Evening Magazine and had been up all night, was in the bathroom, literally splashing water on her face. And we started a conversation. And I forever think that was like a divine moment that happened, because she was one of my true grounded friendships that carried me through my entire career. So I don't have a lot of friends. Everybody knows Gail, there's Maria, there's Bob. And that's about it, you know? And Gail and Maria, I met around the same time. Gail and I 42 years, Maria and I 42 years. And I never really expanded that circle until recently. I've become friends with a couple of people in my later adult life in the past 5 years. But the thing that got me through all of those years, I would say grounded and the truth. Oh my God, Maria's going to tell you the truth.
That's
no matter damn
how do you receive it when Maria tells you? Because Maria, actually, Oprah had a real truth telling with me recently, and it leveled me. But it was exactly what I needed to hear. But sometimes it's hard to receive it when she gives you one of those hard truth bombs. How do you receive it? Yes, one of the big ones.
No, and Maria will give it to you in your face and then say, and you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. You already know what I'm saying is true. What I'm saying is true. Yes.
She does it. She does it right back.
She does it.
She does it right back.
How do you
there's
receive
no.
Yeah.
Well, it depends who's giving it to me.
Yeah.
When she gives it to me, I take it from somebody who has known me, knows me, and wants the best for me. So I receive it without agenda, and I receive it because she's telling me out of love, but she wants me to, she has had to hit me over the head a few times over the years. And sometimes that truth has leveled me. But in my darkest moments, she was right there, sitting right next to me, holding space. This is called holding space, right?
Yeah.
This whole podcast.
Right, making space.
Making space. And I think, very few people can hold space for you. And she held space for me before I even knew the expression. To hold space. I didn't even know what that was going on, what she was doing, but I understood it to hold space for me to understand what was going on at a certain point in my life, and waited for me to get to the other side.
It's so strange, Oprah, just about an hour or so ago, I was just looking around online, and for some reason, I came upon your mom's funeral. And I watched your eulogy, and it moved me to my core, especially when you said at 52 years old, you did something you didn't think you could do. You crawled in bed with your mother and said, I love you. And then I looked into the congregation, and there was Oprah, and I thought, right there, right next to her. How did you support Maria during that time?
Well, you do what all friends do. You just hold the space, because you don't know the words. You don't know what is going to be the comfort. So you just try with your own presence, be the comfort, and you try to meet the person exactly where they are. And, Maria both Maria and Gail had these intense relationships with their mothers. And, you know, Gail would call her mother so many times during the day. I'd say, what could you possibly talk about? And Maria and her mother were always, you know, like talking all the time. So I had the opposite of that. And I used to envy it, like, wow, I wonder what that would be like. So to be able to stand there in the moment, you know, I could feel many times during the transition of Eunice Kennedy Shriver, whom I always said, if she had run for president, I would have stopped anything I was doing and went and worked for her, because I believed if she decided she wanted it, she would get it. And, but there were moments even before her passing, like Maria, what I remember the most, I was just telling somebody the other day, this experience that Maria had with her mother in the hospital changed me forever about having an advocate. I don't care who you are, you should never, ever go to the hospital, spend 1 hour in the hospital without somebody there to advocate for you. Because remember when your mother was sick and she'd gone home and had that infection, and then you all came back to the hospital and you couldn't get anybody to respond because it was the weekend and the doctor was golfing and the da-da-da was happening. And all of that was going on. That's when your mother, you know, as I recall, we thought that was going to be it. They came in and the priest was there and we thought that was it. And then that Eunice came right out of it after.
She did. That was an incredible.
Said, I ain't going yet.
Yeah, that was an incredible moment that but I can also say that when my mother died, which is something that I had like worried about really my whole life. My mother was sick when I was little. And so kind of her impending passing was always very much in my life. You know, it was like, was this going to happen? So I always thought I'll never be able to survive that. And after my mother passed away, 2 weeks later, my uncle passed away. And Oprah had been at my wedding. She was at my mother's funeral. And then she called me right after my mother died and said, I'm going to have a gathering for you. We're going to call it Team Maria. And I'm going to have all the people who love you. They're all going to come to my house and we're just going to have this girls' weekend. And I was kind of like, what, you know, like, I was like, what is she talking about? And I was like, okay, that sounds like nice. This was like she goes, it'll cheer you up. It'll be good. And then my uncle died. And then she's like, I think we should still go ahead with the Team Maria. I was like, wait, what? I'm like, and it was like literally a month was something like that, or a month or 2 months after both of those things, she invited like 20 girls to her house. And we just
Who all knew you.
What?
All of them knew you.
Well, yeah.
Remember? That's when we all chose a word.
Yes,
we all
that's
chose
right.
a word.
What was the word?
Yeah, and I have that. She had this. She had everybody choose a word about me, and she engraved them on rocks, or they were colored rock, not rocks, but kind of crystal colored stones. Yeah, stones, excuse me. And then she put them in this beautiful box that looks kind of like those books behind her, and presented it to me. And everybody wore the same clothes. And we had lunch, and it was just this really sweet, loving, like moment of like, you've got a posse, you've got a group. We're here. We love you. You're going to make it through.
What was the word? Oprah, what was your word? Do you remember?
I was just getting ready to tell you that. Hoda, you are the interviewer.
Is her picture?
I was just going to say, and you know what my word was? My word for Maria was cherish. Because I cherish everything about her. I cherish her frankness. I cherish her directness. I cherish her honesty. I cherish her truth. I cherish her sense of searching for the truth. I cherish her courage. I mean, for me, the word was cherish.
I love that. I love that because I don't feel like in my life I was cherished and pushed, motivated, all of these kind of really strong words, but not cherished. And I think that our relationship, what started, as she said, in Baltimore, we're both living in the same what do you call it? Like not condos, but it was just like apartments. They were like, and she was the upstairs and I was in the downstairs, and she had clothes and furniture.
They were called luxury garden apartments, Maria.
Okay, luxury garden apartments. We were like, and we had a supermarket, and we were like, both working at this thing, and we would eat in the supermarket because they had these big French fry kind of potato things, and we had like no social life at all. Although she was on TV,
because all we did was work.
Yeah, we just worked and ate. And she had kind of furniture, and she had clothes, and she was like, and she would go to church and speak.
Wow.
And in Baltimore. And I was like, oh my God, look at you. You're like speaking in a church, and like, this is so huge. You're going to like do something really big. And I see you in a church, or I see you speaking. Yeah. But she, it was it kind of in a funny way, a beautiful time because it was quiet and it was intimate and it was, kind of real. And those are the moments I think that like when I'm just sitting alone with you and I just come and hang with you or like that's what I cherish in my friendship, when we just sit there and like, can you believe can you believe that, or remember this, or did you that kind of stuff, which is just because so few people you can really talk to honestly, and that you feel safe, and that like when I walk out the door, I know nothing's going anywhere.
Nothing.
Yeah.
When you guys were young, hanging out together,
we're still young,
and you were, of course, you are. But how did people ask you guys out on dates? Were you dating? How was that seen during that time in your life?
I was already going out with Arnold,
so
I was 22, and and you had not met Stedman at that point. Yeah, you were going out. You can take it from here.
No. I didn't meet Stedman until 80. Listen, I was in bad relationships all the time, but Maria is correct. I mean, both of our lives were consumed by working. That was when I remember Maria once remember that boss that I had, that little short guy that was so annoying. Anyway, I remember putting in my timesheet one week, and it was 102 hours I'd worked in a week. And he came up to me and said, well, I can see you're not a team player. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, you live close to the station, because Maria and I live within a mile of the television station. Yeah. And so when you lived that close to the television station, they expected to be able to call on you if there was, a 4-alarm fire, or if there was an accident or whatever. You just get out of bed because you're the closest reporter. And so the bottom line is we worked all the time. We took a lot of abuse that we wouldn't take today. Yeah. We did a lot of things.
That's true.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
I didn't have a whole lot of time for dating because my life was just really consumed by, literally, you just go to work and then you get up the next day and start the same whole thing all over again. And I went to church. I was very, 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 because when I left home, Nashville in 1976 and came to Baltimore, the last thing my father said, and the most imminent thing for him, was find a church home. You must find a church home, which is what happens in the African American community if you're raised in a church culture where you're going to now leave that city. You need to find whatever is going to be your church base, which means basically that you're connecting to a kind of community that you've been familiar with that's going to help support you, if things don't go well or if things do go well. So I found my church home and had my one friend, Maria, who lived in the same apartment complex. Yeah. My one friend, Gail, who lived in Chevy Chase. So and that was my life. That was our life.
And kind of I would say to Oprah's unbelievable credit, or that her life, went from there, obviously, to Chicago, and then went through all of these kind of changes and everything. It's still a very core little group.
Isn't that funny?
And which I think is so kind of awesome. And like when I've had a little, if I've had a dinner for Oprah's birthday, it's like the same, like she has a core thing there. And you feel safe in that core friendship. And it's just when you've like, had somebody who's gone through the birth of all your children with you, right? Your marriage, your divorce, the death of your parents, the death of yourself, the rebirth of yourself, the evolution of herself, the change of herself. And it's kind of like if you don't think that off, you just step back and you're like, damn, like how blessed am I to have that for that length of time, the duration of that time, and all the laughs and tears and joys and not have lost our way.
Wow. And there was a moment you told me, Maria, about you and Oprah that still to this day touches me. And we were in the makeup room, Oprah, Maria and I, and she said there's one single song that she said soothed her.
Oh, this is the best story on earth.
On earth.
Wait,
on earth.
I am so excited because just so you know, she played that song for me. We had an eye lock, Maria and I. I was crying. Like I felt it. And I got chills all over my body. And she said, I'm going to tell you a story about this song. Will you?
No, you let her. You tell it, and then I'll interrupt you.
No, Maria, you tell it. Well, you tell your version.
Yeah, you tell your version.
Okay, my version is, so she was having a birthday.
Yep.
And she had a very small group of girlfriends in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. She just kind of built her place in Hawaii. And she was having, it was at the beginning of OWN, which was a rough period. Yes. Needless, rough.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting.
Not just rough. Every newspaper, everybody was saying you should have kept your day job. The struggling OWN. What'd you leave the Oprah show for? It's disaster. It's about just one story after another story after another story. And new people would sit up and joke about it. It was Schadenfreude at its greatest. It was really a bad time for me. So, go ahead.
Really a bad time. And she was, she was kind of being raked over the coals publicly and everything, and she was really hurting. So we went to Hawaii, and we were sitting in the dining room, and the Sonatum Coram came on the music thing. And she and I both started, like, singing to the song. And I was like, how do you know that song? And she's like, how do you know that song? And I was like, oh, my God, that song has helped me through. And this was after I had just gotten separated. And she's like, oh, that song is helping me. And so we started then talking about this song and the singer. And she was like, and Oprah's the kind of person that if she's throwing something for you, she'll find out your favorite musician, she'll find out your favorite cake, your favorite people, and do all this sort of stuff. Yeah. And it doesn't often come back that way, right? Because she's not organizing her own birthday, right? Yeah. So I got up from the table and I was like, can you imagine, like, if this had been my thing, she would have gotten that woman to come and sing for me.
Yeah. No. Can I interrupt?
Okay.
Can I interrupt?
Yeah.
Can I interrupt?
Yeah.
I actually said to you,
yes.
Oh my God, I thought to have her here. And then I thought, nah, it's just my birthday.
Yeah.
But if I were doing this for you,
if
I'd have known you really liked her, I would have done it for you.
Yes.
But I didn't think I could do it for myself.
Okay. Exactly.
Okay.
So,
I said, oh my God, I love her so much.
Yeah.
I thought to do it for myself, and then I thought, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that tells you something about her.
It does, right?
Anyways, so I got up from the thing and we started making calls. I started going to try to find her.
Yeah.
Right? I thought to myself, she's in California. I know she lives in California somewhere, but I didn't know her. Yeah. I don't know anything about. So I called the guy who had introduced the music to me. Do you know her? Anyway, long story short, by the next morning, this other woman who was at the party, we find this singer. Turns out she's a mile down the road.
Oh, my God.
So we call her. And she's doing some concert or something. Right. So we said, look, you have to come over.
In Paia. She's doing a concert in Paia.
Yeah. Okay, in Paia, which is 30 minutes from her house. Okay? What are the chances of that? The odds.
What are the chances?
None. Zero. So we convince her to come over because every evening, like right before dinner, we sit on the porch and we look for what Oprah calls his God moments, right? There, you call it the God moments, where we look out at the ocean and everything. We have a little cocktail and there we're on the porch. And so we had worked it out that we would be sitting there, and then we'd have a little toast, and you would hear. There were producers. Like I was originally a
Did
producer.
Oprah know about anything?
No, she didn't know anything.
You had no idea this was happening.
Nothing.
Okay, this is
nothing,
good.
Right.
Yes.
So I'm like, okay, well, we'll start with this toast, and then the music will start, and she'll think the music is on the house radio, and then you, dressed in your white thing, you'll come down the steps, and it'll be just this moment. I have goosebumps. And so we go out onto the porch. We have our cocktails. I'm sitting in the rocking chair next over. We're looking. I'm like, wow, look at this, like, ocean. It's beautiful. And she's still kind of like, like not in a great mood or whatever. And then we're like, look at the sunset. All of a sudden, you hear this music.
Oh gosh.
Start to come on, and she's like,
Sonatum Core.
Yeah. And so she starts to hear the music, and I'm holding her hand. We're like looking at the thing, and all of a sudden, right? You take it from here.
No. So I'm thinking it's the speaker. Somebody's playing the music from the speaker because we play Sonatum Core, and then the song. And then I turn, and Sonatum Core is walking down the stairs of the porch because she was on the upstairs balcony.
Yeah.
She is walking down the stairs of the porch, and it was the most out-of-body, surreal. I think tears literally shot out of my eyes because I couldn't connect that. Yesterday, it was midnight. We were at the table.
Yeah.
Midnight, we were at the table with me saying, if I'd have known you really liked her, I would have made sure that she was here. But I didn't think, I'd do it for my own birthday. And she's now on my front porch for sunset cocktails. I mean, singing, if by thy grace I sing your holy name.
By the way.
And by the way,
a moment or what?
That's a moment. That's the best moment.
It was really one of those kind of, for me, once in a lifetime moments. It also was like, that she wouldn't do something for herself that she would do for other people.
Yeah.
And it was really a God moment. And as God is my judge, stuff started to turn around after that.
Is that right, Oprah?
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
That was the moment for me, because if something that miraculous can happen, if something that close to being, that was pure alignment. The fact that the music comes on when it comes on, we're sitting at the table, I'm humming it, and Maria goes, how do you know that song? I go, how do you know that song? Because Sonatum Core is not something most people are.
Yeah.
And so, and in less than 24 hours, that person is on your front porch. I just thought, okay, God is with me. It's still possible to be aligned. It's still possible. And so I started to shift the idea of this struggling network to what an awesome thing to be able to have a network in your name. And what a great opportunity to be able to say something, whatever that is you want to share with the public, in a way that represents you, and stop looking at it as this god awful, I made a mistake, and being defined by other people's idea of it. So, and that moment, by thy grace, I sing your holy name. That was it.
It was so beautiful.
By the way, I've since fallen in love with that song deeply, and it is also the song that goes off at 3:15 in the morning. That's my wake up. By thy grace. Yeah, it's the best wake up, because you gently wake up. How do you, when you have an on your knees moment, which sounds like that beginning part was that the lowest that you'd seen Oprah, Maria?
Well, I saw that was, by that time Oprah, was a big public figure. Yeah. So this was a big, public,
humiliation for me.
Yeah, it was a humiliation for her, and I knew she was taking it itself. She had just come off of the show. That had been a really big moment, right? And she was just getting, knocked around. And people don't remember, like, who starts a network? How people don't give you any grace space. They don't hold space for you to get it right? They didn't give her any space. They just expected her to go from the Oprah Winfrey show into, a network that was all humming and doing and, that was from nothing, but would be there 24 hours with perfect programming. They didn't give her any time. Yeah. And so I think that it was, a moment where she had to, you know, in a way go back to her grit that built, you know, her career. And people forget that. They just saw her as Oprah Winfrey.
Right.
And, but
you know, the other thing, Hoda and Maria, the other thing was, it was a big learning lesson to me, and By Thy Grace, and the fact it was that song and all that meant, and that my friend Maria and all the other women at the table had the thought at midnight to try to find her. All of that energetically came into play with being able to switch my head around. And because prior to that night, prior to that moment, which was like the last moment of the evening, we had been at the table, and I remember laying my head down on the table sobbing.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Sobbing, saying, "Oh, gee, I think I've made the, you know, worst mistake, and why did I do it, and blah, blah, blah." And so to go from that moment sobbing on the table with my friends to the next day, By Thy Grace, showing up, was really transformative for me. It was healing. It's exactly what you want your friends to be there to do. Number one, you want your friends to stand in the gap for you and to say, you are not whatever definition you're using to define yourself. So part of the problem in that moment was that I had been so accustomed to succeeding that the idea of not succeeding felt like felt like I personally failed, not like the network failed. And I later realized, as I talked to lots of businessmen who would buy companies and sell companies and do ventures and lose on this thing and gain on that thing, that men don't look at it the same way. This is a business that I started, and this business works, it's great. If it doesn't, then I move on to the next.
Right.
And I was taking it so personally, like this personally means that I have failed because I am listening to, you know, all the naysayers and all of the schadenfreude. But that moment with my friends, led by Maria, By Thy Grace, is what started to turn me around. But I think all of us need that thing to shake us up.
Yeah, and I think what Oprah's also saying, can you imagine, like, your head is on the table, you're sobbing, you think, like, it's over, you're a failure, and, you know, soon after that, if people hold space for you and hold you or whatever, that you can get a new lease on life, that you can look at something differently. And I think that's a kind of a life lesson for everybody, that in that moment when you think, like, I just can't go on, I'm a failure, so it can turn around your feeling, your perspective, and your belief in yourself, right? And she went on to build a successful network. When people said she was finished, she was done, it was over, and, you know, has gone on to, you know, extraordinary achievements since then. So I think people, you know, I think it's funny, like, people say to me, like, even when she did the Harry and Meghan interview this year, like, oh my God, Oprah can interview. I'm like,
hello.
I mean, I'm like, yeah, you know. And I remember telling you that, you're like, well, you know, it has been 10 years since I was like, you know. But people forget that how hard, how hard people work and work their way up. You know, it's not like Oprah became Oprah. Like, there's grit. There's all-nighters. There's Nashville. There's Baltimore. There's, you know, sitting across keys. There's working the way up. There's being yelled at. There's being told you're, you know, to this, to that, to whatever.
There's being yelled at. There's being harassed. There's being, you know, all kinds of looking the other way in order to get ahead. I mean, I think we both came up at a time where, you know, there were aggressions all the time. But you knew that if you were to complain about it or say anything about it, you would just be out. It would be over. There was no recourse. And understanding that you just keep your head up and keep going. Keep your head up and keep going.
I like that. Are you guys, you know, people seek both of you out for advice. I know that I do. And I know that people do, whether it's on a podcast or just in person. I know everyone's on your IG Live, Maria, everyone, anytime Oprah says anything, everyone wants to lean in. Are you still learning? Like, what's the most recent kind of revelation or life lesson you've learned at this stage in the game? I'll start with Maria.
At this state, well, that I'm continuing to grow and continuing to change and evolve. I think that, to me, if I think back, 20, 30 years, I thought I'd be cooked by this time, or I thought I'd knew everything there was to know. And I actually feel, so alive at this age. I feel lighter, I feel freer, I feel more alive. I am surprised by that. I am surprised by how awake in my own life I feel. So that to me is a godsend. It's a miracle, actually. And so I think that's something I never thought about.
Oprah, what about you?
The thing that I love most about my life is the sense of gratitude and appreciation. I mean, I never, for one day, actually, have lost the sense memory of being raised in dire circumstances. I remember one night here, the frogs were so loud that I could hear them through the doorway, and I went out on the balcony and I was like, wow, this sounds just like Mississippi. It sounds like being on my mother's porch in Mississippi. And then I just thought, well, it certainly is the frogs may sound the same, but the life from Mississippi to Montecito is just like light years in difference. But I am constantly reminded of, the last time Maria was here, we were walking around, and we just took a walk around. I think socially distanced walk at the time.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about our lives and the fact that everything that has happened to me, I actually earned it. So we were talking, I think, about imposter syndrome. I was telling about, some people say they have imposter syndrome, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is, because everything that I have gotten, I work for it, I earned it, and I live in this beautiful space surrounded by trees that I love, and have been able to create this life, but have never once forgotten the life that I came from in order to get to here. And so there's a sense of contentment and peace that comes with that, that actually, I don't think I'm surprised by it as this. I'm just so pleased. I'm just so pleased to be in a space where I'm no longer, Maria and I talked about this for a while, no longer having to make decisions that please other people and don't please you.
That is freeing. That's got to be freeing.
And I think the other thing that, if I do say so myself, that we've done well is, I think sometimes if you're friends with somebody really well known, then other people come to you, can you do this? Can you get so-and-so to do that? Could you get so-and-so to do that? Could you? And I, from the very beginning, like, she was off limits. Period. To everybody and even in my own family.
Wow.
So if my brothers wanted to go to her, and they found a way around me on their own.
They do what they do.
But I have been, this is devoid of anything else. It's like I protect it. It's, and vice versa. And it's, and that has been a challenge at times where people are like, oh, could you just please, could you just ask, oh, you could do. And if we've ever done things for each other and with each other, it's from us to the other. And I think that's kind of been a big part, I think, of safeguarding this relationship, or at least in my mind.
This is...
Yeah, I would say so too.
Yeah.
Same here. I mean, people would try to get me to get something to you or a member of your family, and I just go, I don't play that.
I don't play that. I don't. Last time I saw Oprah was actually 2 weeks ago, because I was up there, and she was like, I said something like, we were talking about her having earned this, and I said to her, you've also earned the right to rest. You've also earned the right to rest.
Yes.
And I remember you looked at me kind of like, what? I was like, you've earned, whatever you do now, should come from a place of total desire and whatever, because you have earned not only this place that you've built, which is when I first saw it before she moved in, she's like, I want to show you this thing. And I was like, this is a long way from Cross Keys. That's all I want to say. There wasn't even a fountain at Cross Keys. But I was like, you've also earned the right to rest. And I think that's a big thing.
I love that.
You know.
I know we only have a couple minutes left because you guys have been real generous with your time. But what is
I think women don't do that. I think women in particular don't do that.
Yeah.
Women don't give themselves the right to rest.
Yes.
I remember, I was working with this meditation therapist when I was doing tour last year, just before COVID hit hard. And we would do this big meditation in the arenas. And whenever he would say to the audience, you deserve rest, you could see tears flowing out of women's eyes. Men don't cry when they're told you deserve rest, but women start to weep because the very notion that you can give yourself permission to rest is a foreign concept to so many women. So the fact that Maria was reminding me of that on my own doorstep, I was like, what? Oh, yeah, okay, thank you so much.
And the
No,
fact,
but it's true.
And the
It's
fact
true.
that when you talk about your own mom who was like, you got to go, go, go. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? I mean, rest, vacation, relaxing was not part of the plan, wasn't part of the routine.
No, it wasn't allowed. And that's another thing that I've always said when I have gone to visit Oprah, when I went, she would, this sounds so kind of silly, but she would say oh, here's a cup of coffee I made for you.
And
And
I brought the coffee and paper to your door.
And I'm gonna cry. It was so moving to me because that's not how I grew up. Nobody brought a cup of coffee or a cup of water to me. And she, in a funny way, even though I had a very close relationship with my mother, I wasn't mothered in that way, right? And she wasn't mothered in her own way. But I think in a way we have mothered each other. And, when I turned 60, I just gotten, separated. I was in a bad, she's like, I'm going to give you a birthday party. When I was living in a hotel, I'm going to come and sit in the room next to you. I'm going to bring you the coffee. These kind of, little moments in our lives, I think at the end of the day are what, I grew up in a big family and a big life. But when I close my eyes, it's the little moments. It's you having dinner with me. It's her bringing the coffee. It's having a laugh. It's, I think we're all pushed to have these big, big moments. But I think it's the little moments that people aren't pushed to have that really are the transforming moments.
But, and also for me, when you're asking that original question about words that describe the friendship, the thing that grounds me in my friendship, relationship, and cherishing Maria is that she really sees me. Yeah. And she tries to do that with everybody. I know you feel that in your relationship with her. I know her children feel that, and that when she sees you, she really makes an effort to really get you. Mm-hmm. And when you're in her presence, you feel like you're the most important person. And that is a real life skill to do that with people, so that everybody thinks that they are your favorite friend, And that's what you do so well. That's one of the reasons why I cherish you so much.
Oh, my God.
I love you. Thank you. Look at that. Thank
and
you.
Yes, and when you went through that whole phase of I'm calling people and I'm telling them that I love them, I'm going to say that out loud. That's because you've gone through a period where you'd lost so many people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a funny story about Oprah.
It's a habit to just sometimes Hoda, she'll just go checking in. You
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's one of my favorite texts.
Then she's like, I'm good. Okay, I was just like, buddy check. Where are we? How are we?
It's one of my favorite texts to ever get is that one. Are you
buddy
okay?
Check. Are you
buddy
okay?
Check. What you
I was going to say this really funny story that I had. Oprah that always makes me laugh. I was on her show, and I was I had a children's book out. I think it was either about death or Alzheimer's. I write always about some disastrous part of life. And just always, my brother was like, could you write something other than like death, divorce, whatever. But I was talking to, she was interviewing me, and it was a very quiet moment in the studio, and people were emotionally having a moment. I think it was about Alzheimer's, or it was about death or something. And I was like, so you have this, so right away now we need to get going. We need to like get involved and change the world. And Oprah was like, just give the people a moment. Like, I just calm the F down. Just like, let the people cry. We're going to commercial. Then it's doing the commercials like, let the people have a moment. Let them cry. Let them emote. Don't give them an assignment. And I was like, I got it. Yeah.
That was a little Eunice coming through.
A little Eunice.
Yeah.
I remember my favorite Eunice story is I was on vacation and I was on a boat out in the middle of the Caribbean.
Tell it.
Oh, yeah, this is genius.
Wait, I want to hear.
And I had seen, we had been docked somewhere, and I had seen Eunice and said hello and all, and she goes, I think the tsunami had happened.
Yeah,
goes,
was
what
the
are
tsunami.
you and Maria going to do about this? What are you and Maria going to do about this? I was like, well, it's a tsunami. I don't know what we can do. And so apparently she was not happy with our conversation, or what I thought the result should be of that conversation. And I'm in the middle of the ocean in the boat, and Eunice has rowed out to the boat. And they're like, there's a woman with a pink swim cap in a boat outside. And she says she needs to see you. She needs a meeting with you.
That's true.
What? I come out.
Yeah.
True story. I come out, and Eunice goes, I'm serious. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it?
I'll never forget that as long as I live. She goes, I tracked Oprah down. This was over Christmas vacation. She goes, I tracked her down. I ran down the pier. I went out there. You two have got to do something. There is a tsunami. I said, well, Mommy, I don't, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. Oh, it's ridiculous that she's not doing something. And you and she together, it's the both of you just sitting there. I think it's inexcusable. I was like, oh my, it was like the day after Christmas or 2 days, I was just like, could you leave her alone?
I was on Christmas vacation.
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
goes, I found her all right. I found her. I found her. I'm all over her.
Oprah, were you scared of Eunice?
I was intimidated by Eunice. No question about it.
Yeah.
No question about it. Because Maria comes from the kind of family, no matter who you are, you're not doing enough in the world. So you come and you sit at the table, and Sarge wants to know, what have you done lately? What are you working on? What are you working on next? What are you working on after that? Maria, you told this story once about talking about a friend who'd gone on a vacation and had decided, what was it? They were going to take a leave of absence or something?
No, was that the one where they were taking a honeymoon with themselves? Was it that
one? Yes, a honeymoon.
Yeah.
Themselves. And what happened?
Father said,
yeah, my father said, I was like, this friend of mine said, I just had this honeymoon with myself. And I was like, wow, you imagine that? So I was like, I think I should do that, have a honeymoon with myself. And I said, this is the most ridiculous, selfish comment I've ever heard.
That's what your dad said?
Yeah, it's like outrageous. Don't ever think like that. I was like, okay, all right, I won't. But they were like that with, they would be like, because when I brought Oprah over to the house for dinner, when we were in Baltimore, they're like, what's your friend doing now? Where is she going? Does she have a TV show? Get the people on the TV show. To have her do something. She should have a TV show. And she was on a TV show with this other guy, and she was like the sidekick.
Right.
And I was like, she doesn't really have any power on the TV show, so she can't have a Special Olympic athlete on the TV show.
Man. Okay, guys, what was the most, I just have a couple more things. What was the most difficult thing you had to let go of in your life?
Most difficult thing? You go first.
Ooh, Maria, I'll let you take that, babe.
Most difficult thing I had to... probably my marriage, or my vision of whatever I thought my marriage was. Yeah, I have a lot of things.
I think I had to let go of this notion that I could make everybody happy, that I could please everybody, that I was going to be the kind of person that everybody was going to actually like. I think coming to terms with the fact that you are never going to please everybody, and you can't be who you are in the world without accepting the fact that there are going to be some people who, no matter how, character driven you think you are, no matter how centered of a moral compass you think that you have, that there are people like, I can't stand her. I really don't like her. You know what I mean? So I think letting go of the notion that you're never going to please everybody.
And does that still hurt or not so much anymore?
Not so much. Listen, 67 things hurt less.
Yeah. What's the best thing about being this age? And we'll wrap it up.
Wow. I think there's a lot of great things about. I remember, Oprah, you telling me, like, when you turn 60, people are gonna start treating you different. And I was like, no, they're not. Well, but I started, I think, slowly in my 60s, have started treating myself differently and started to be kinder to myself. And as I said, I feel lighter to the point of like, I think a lot of my life I spent kind of living to please my parents. And please others, like she's saying. And now I'm really clear about I want to spend my time doing what I love with the people that I love. And
having more fun.
And having more fun. I want to travel. I want to, with people that I love. I don't want to travel by myself. I know some people like that, and I don't like that. But I want to experience joy and happiness and connection and deep connection, and I'm able to do that now. My kids are cooked.
Yeah.
I'm single. I'm free. I'm my own boss in so many ways. I'm finally the boss of me. I'm finally the boss of me.
I love that. Oprah, what about for you? What's the best part?
The best thing about Hoda, you want to get to this point because you have nothing else to prove. It's just like Maria said. There's nothing to prove. Anything you do, you choose to do it because it's going to bring you pleasure, meaning, enjoyment, fulfill some kind of purpose that you want or desire, but you have nothing to prove. Nothing to prove because you already proved it.
Yeah, we're survivors. And I just want to say that we both love you. Yeah, because we've never done this before.
By the way,
right?
I'm so honored.
We've never done this, and neither one of us knew what we were doing or why we were doing this.
I just said I had to do it because Hoda asked.
Yeah.
And was it last year, Hoda? I sent you those flowers. Hoda did. There was a piece where Hoda did of me on the Today Show. I looked at that piece and I literally said, "I'm still alive, right? I am still living." It was like, it was like,
yeah,
in memoriam, everything you've ever done. It was such a great piece. I was like, whoa.
I can, Oprah's like, I can rest now. I can rest now.
By the way, I saved that voicemail. I'll save it forever.
But that's really, because we haven't done this, and like we're friends over 40 years, right? Well, so it's actually, so thank you for asking us both, even though both of us just said yes because it was you.
Well,
you.
I'm honored, man. Y'all, this was beautiful.
And we love you.
I love you both. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for making space for us.
Yeah, thanks for holding space for us.
Anytime. Love
Let's
you guys.
go on a trip.
Yeah.
Let's go have some fun.
I'm ready to go.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Great Farms. Hey.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hey.
Okay.
I mean, really? Really?
Okay. Come on.
Let's go. Come on.
I'm doing it.
Okay. Love you.
Yeah. Hold on one second. Don't click off yet. Hold on 1 second, Oprah. We're just going to do a quick picture. Hold on. Smile.
This is Hoda's new podcast.
Thank you.
Hoda's
new. God.
It's called Holding Space or Making Space.
Making Space.
Making Space.
Yeah.
Making space.
All
Well,
right.
Thanks for making space
Thank
for
you.
us.
I love you.
I'll call you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, Oprah.
Bye.
I love you.
Bye.
Thank you.